see a lot.
Yep. Yeah, they've got that high tension power line went right through the property.
Right, we are being recorded. We're not totally sure how the little recording sign works yet. So we're still working it out.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right. I will call the May 15th Plot Committee meeting to order. First up is roll call. All committee members are present. I guess first order of business will be to review minutes from March's meeting. Do I hear any motions?
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
That'd be first and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? All right. Kayla, you're up. Looks like we have one plot committee for today.
We have one minor subdivision with a 3-to-1 exception. This is located on County Road 650 North near the Hancock Henry County line. And Mr. and Mrs. Pitcock are here representing their own petition as well as their surveyor, Philip Going. Pretty straightforward minor subdivision. They have satisfied all of the technical comments. There was a soil boring comment from the health department that has been signed off on. So those are underway to the satisfaction of the health department. And the surveyor had a couple of their typical comments, and that has been signed off as well. And my only comment was that the parent tract parcel number of acres remain shown on a map somewhere on this, and it is, so I signed off. So with that, unless you have any questions for me, I'm going to turn this over to Philip Going or the Pitcock family.
I have no questions if you want it. Phil, comments?
Morning.
Morning.
Thank you so much for showing up for this project. Now that I know that we're being recorded, we have to act right? So, yeah, I'm Philip Going with Acura Land Surveying here on behalf of Chris and Stephanie Pitcock, and they are here with us today. So if you have any specific questions for them, I'm sure they would be happy to jump up here and answer that as well. But the Pitcock family has owned a quarter section, 40-acre tract of land at the corner of 1200 East and 650 North for a significant number of years. And that's where they've lived and where they've made their home and where they raised their family. And now part of that family wants to build a home on the 40-acre tract. And to do that, you have to split a parcel off in order to build another home. The family wants to be as far west as they can and build in the woods. I don't know if you've looked at the Beacon aerial photos, but the woods is mostly toward the southwest corner of the Pitcock property, and it takes a long path to get back to the woods, and so that's why this is kind of elongated. The property meets the standards in every way except for the 3-to-1 depth to width ratio, and so that's why we're asking not only for plat approval today, but also for approval for the 3-to-1 exception. When you open up Beacon, there is a wetland layer. If you turn that on, you'll see that it shows almost the entire woods being wetlands, and that was the first item of concern for me whenever we took on this project. And the Pitcocks have hired a wetland scientist to come out and did an analysis of this particular area and has certified that there is no wetland in this area that we're proposing this project for. So it's just that the maps are incorrect at this particular location and on Beacon, and hopefully we can have that corrected. There is floodplain south of the property because the creek crosses their property, but the floodplain does not impact this particular project site. So we believe it's a good use of the land, a good place for their family to continue to expand, and we respectfully ask for your vote of approval this morning.
All right, Phil, I've got two questions.
Okay.
The first one is the proposed 20-inch, looks like a 20-foot drain easement. Has that been recorded, or that will be recorded on condition of the plot being approved?
Yes, that was one of Chad Kokenauer's comments, and we actually added that to the plat. And of course, you guys get copies of the original plat that we filed. This is a copy of the updated plat, and you can see that we added that easement
So the easement
directly
is
to
there.
this document, yes.
Okay, it just says proposed, that's why I was
Right.
on mine, so that's why I was.
Yeah, it is added to the plat, and we also added some verbiage in the owner's signature certificate in order to handle that.
Not a requirement, but the one thing that I do like to see in here is on the proposed driveway. What I'd like to see is also an additional utility easement added to that for utilities.
You would think I would remember that after a while, wouldn't you? Yes, I
I
understand.
don't see an issue there,
Yeah,
having a utility easement added to the driveway, especially where it gets really narrow back towards the house.
right. How wide are you thinking?
See, what was the driveway? What was the driveway? The proposed driveway?
It's probably anywhere from 12 to 16 feet wide.
I think an additional maybe 10 feet or something like that, 8 to 10 feet.
Okay.
That sound kosher. So if you're in a
Yeah, take in the driveway plus
8
10
feet,
feet.
yeah, maybe. That makes sense. With driveway
Yeah,
easement, maybe, 20
I
feet.
think that's fine.
Okay.
So are we adding 10 or 20?
Let's go 10.
Bill, there was some, it looks like shrubbery along that property line. I couldn't tell by the depth. Is the house beyond that shrub?
The shrubbery.
Yeah, it seemed like there's some shrubs on the edge of that property line.
Well,
From here, right?
for starters, the property line, there's a wood privacy fence that is
Yeah.
along that line.
But it's beyond that.
Right, and the wood privacy fence is actually on the Pitcock property by 4 or 5 feet or so. I forget the exact number. So I can't specifically remember seeing the shrubbery that you're talking about, but the home is proposed to be all the way back to the woods.
Yeah.
I mean,
So they
literally.
must Go ahead and take that out or something.
Okay. You know what he's talking
Yes.
about? Okay.
Yeah, it's about a third of the way back, and it's Japanese honeysuckle and mulberries that's grown up around an old fence post that you can't even hardly see in there, that's on our property now. And we've been wanting to cut that out anyway, and we've already talked to the neighbors, told him his fence was on our property, and I even said we will help him remove it. He said, oh, that's great. And then I even went out and tilled him up about 100 by 150 foot garden.
That's all.
Good luck on killing the mulberry tree.
Tordon. Got him down, put Tordon on.
Okay. So it's beyond that
Right
shrub.
on that, on our line.
Yeah.
Within that 5-foot area, about a third of the way back, third of the way going south from the road. If that's what you're looking at.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
Yes, that's just Japanese honeysuckle that's so invasive, growing everywhere.
Iron, any other
So
questions?
the very south edge of this property is up against the woods,
No, the property extends into the woods.
into the woods.
And the house will sit right on the north
Okay.
edge of the woods, and the property extends into the woods. Yep.
Any other further discussion or questions for Phil? If not, do I hear a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
Got a first? Do I hear a second?
We have that 3-1.
I'm sorry, yes. On that motion, can you include the 3-1 exception?
As you say.
And also the utility easement for the driveway.
I'll second it.
We have a first and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All that oppose? Passed. Thanks, Phil.
Thank you.
That's it, in.
Oops, we got more to talk about.
Alrighty, Kayla, I think you have a few other things you wanted to bring to our attention or discuss.
So the search development, item was on here by mistake. We don't need to talk about that at Plat Committee. It wasn't gonna come to Plat. Just so you all know, it has been withdrawn as it has been an item of community interest. So, as we know though, that property is shown in our comprehensive plan as industrial or manufacturing. So it is one of those things that, while this one is withdrawn, there will be another proposal. And so we kind of need to think about what would be appropriate on that site, and curious to hear the community's response to that. So anyway, I'll move on from that, but I wanted to let you know, since it's on there by mistake anyway, that it has been withdrawn.
And the planning meeting is canceled for the 27th.
Yes.
Now we're meeting on the 3rd.
Correct. So anybody here who has questions, you can pass that information along. Yeah, the other two items that were on the agenda will be on the June 3rd agenda.
The third one will be June 24th.
Thank you.
Owner of that, that's being, will not be in town. So that's been moved to the
Is that the one that is being appealed from us, that we sent forward to the next? So basically, it's having its second time being sent on.
Yeah.
by the Plan Commission.
Right.
And then bumped because PUD.
No one's
I
happy.
kind of wonder if there was a lot of people interested in that. Nice if we had a way to notify them.
Owner did state study, the traffic study, actually going to be close to being done by the June 24th. All those that I have emails for that were concerned, have been notified by email that
So one we approved is being appealed.
When was that?
SJH 52
Oh, okay,
by Schildemeyer
yeah.
Woods. The barn property.
Next to the barn.
Hendricks old
Next to the
property.
barn, just west of the barn.
I guess that was a
Yeah,
minor
yeah, all
subdivision.
that.
Yeah.
The barn and all that, that's the old Hendricks home.
Yeah, got the hill. I was concerned about the hill, traffic, and
That one's going to the plant.
So
It was last month, but then nobody showed up to talk about it besides the people that were against it. And so it got bumped to May, but now it's getting bumped to
June.
June.
Pattern here.
Something going on.
So moving on, the only other item I wanted to discuss with this board was an ordinance update that changes the Plat Committee procedure a little bit. As we've discussed in previous meetings, sometimes we foresee petitions are not a great fit for the Plat Committee and see a need to go ahead and, if we're going to get appealed anyway, let's go ahead and shift this to the Plan Commission right off. We don't always foresee that, but quite a bit of the time we know pretty quickly. And we've also found that the rules are a little bit gray about what this board can do if they see the need to move something onto the Plan Commission. So I'm just going to read you some of the changes that Rhonda has made in an ordinance update to the Plat Committee procedures and also the Technical Committee procedures. So this ordinance update states that the subdivision, let's see, so in order to apply and be on the Plat Committee agenda as a minor subdivision, the subdivision has to meet this section, a new subsection. And this is in 155.021A6. So this is in the subdivision control ordinance. The subdivision is not planned in conjunction with an adjacent minor subdivision that either already exists or that is proposed, so as to have the effect of circumventing the requirements and approvals for a major subdivision. So in order to be on this agenda now, that must be true.
So can I request a copy for all the section, please?
Yes, yeah. We can go ahead and just make you guys some copies right now.
He did the 3 and 3.
So I think that might.
Pardon? Yeah, it covers that one.
I hope that's all right. It should make things a little bit, give, I think, me a little bit more, I guess, teeth when it comes to making those determinations at the counter, saying, hey, this is not a minor subdivision at this point. This is circumventing the rules.
So I guess my question, I don't know about the rest of it, who makes that determination?
Yeah, the new amendment gives me basically the ability to interpret it and say this needs to go either to Plan Commission or Plat Committee. Mm-hmm.
So that read as if there's already an existing minor sub or major beside it?
Minor.
Minor.
Yeah, basically it needs to be, it needs to incorporate.
You don't look to see any lawsuits over this before it's over with?
No, I don't think so.
This basically comes out of that deal on the Brown Township where we had the 3 and the 3. You know, and Mike argued that fit the ordinance, but in essence it didn't.
Appreciate it.
There's also some additional wording in that states that we've got and you'll see down there's sections that are crossed out that basically are things that are removed and items in bold are added. That's the general flow of it. But more or less, it gives us a little bit more leeway to direct things from the get-go. And, if this is a straightforward minor subdivision for residential purposes, like Mr. and Mrs. Pitcock just brought to you guys, this is very straightforward. This is what our minor subdivision process and the Plat Committee is here to facilitate. But sometimes those tricky projects that we see where the public notice is put out after the fact and we know it's going to be appealed and all of that. Nice to know we have an alternate route we can take. So continuing down the line here, you'll see that it also amends the Plat Committee procedure and makes it so that following review at TEC, the planning director shall make a determination as to whether the application is complete and should be referred to either the Plat Committee or the Plan Commission for review and action. Kind of makes that call at that point. Upon a finding made by the planning director that the minor subdivision plat does not involve opening a new public way and that it complies in all other aspects with this chapter and the zoning chapter, the application may be considered by the Plat Committee without public notice and hearing, and the Plat Committee may grant primary approval. Within 10 days after the primary approval, the Plat Committee, the Plan Commission staff shall require the applicant to serve due notice to interested parties. The notice shall be given in accordance with state code. And then it, let's see here, it takes out a section about the expiration of the appeals period and instead states that upon a finding made by the planning director that the minor plat involves opening a new public way or does not comply in all other respects with this chapter and the zoning chapter, or is of such a nature, complexity, or of public interest that it should be subject to an initial public hearing before the Plat Committee, the Plan Commission staff shall require the applicant to provide notice in accordance with state code of a public hearing to be held by the Plat Committee and provide due notice to interested parties at least 10 days before the date set for the public hearing. And then we go back into that expiration of the appeals period. So upon expiration of the appeals period, for applications considered under Section B above, which is typical Plat Committee procedure, as we're doing it right now, the chairman of the Plat Committee and the Plan Director shall sign a certificate granting secondary approval of the minor plat. The certificate shall be made a part of the tracing cloth or reproducible mylar of the plat. We've kind of gotten out of the mylar business. The applicant shall record the plat with the county recorder within 12 months. If not recorded within this time, the approval shall be null and void unless renewed. And that is more or less the changes made to the minor subdivision process.
So if you have two minor subs side by side, does the one just get diverted to the planning or it's just not allowed?
Well, that's a good question. Typically what we see is if you have, say, let's say you have 40 acres and there was a minor subdivision done back in the 80s. And so you've got a 3-lot minor already, plus the parent tract, which is exempt. You could look at it as this has been split, and Dawn, let me know if I'm wrong on this because you see this a lot more. The second minor subdivision here quite possibly is exceeding the number of splits allowed for a minor subdivision from that parent tract.
3 times.
Right, but this isn't necessarily that exactly. I mean, we know if it's in the parent track, that's just normal. Saying there, I'm talking about if they were two separate parent traps,
Okay.
but the two minor subs ended up side by side, would that go to the planning or would it not be allowed?
That, I think, is where if the appearance of circumventing the subdivision control ordinance comes into play. So what we see frequently is somebody has an area where they want to do 6 lots side by side.
Yeah, well, I understand.
And they're doing and yeah, it might be in it was 2 10-acre tracts to begin with. Exempt, right? But if they're doing all of this at the same time and doing 6 side-by-side lots, for all intents and purposes, that is being developed as a major subdivision. So our minor subdivision ordinance states that 3 is it, and that's 3 lots is the maximum for a minor subdivision. And in that idea is that you can only do so much, have so much, we'll say negative impact or impact on the public roads or anything else with 3 lots. 3 lots, what harm can you do? Sure, let's push it through. But if we're continually allowing 3 next to 3 next to 3 next to 3, at what point is that no different than a project by D.R. Horton or Lennar Homes, and really should be held to a higher standard? So that's really what we're trying to get at here.
Yeah, I understand all that. I agree with that. My concern is someone feeling like they're being discriminated against. You know, everybody else gets to, but now I can't.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
And I would
I
say
don't want
that,
somebody to feel like they're being picked on. Got the wrong name or wrong color or wrong. That's my concern.
Well, see, we had a concern on the road that I live on, that pool ground, last person that built that barndominium had to get free zone on that property, I believe. Major so. One house.
Do we ever figure out a way to address some of these old ones, like you're talking about the 40 acres, where at one time, you know, they built a house, and all of a sudden something happens and that house no longer is in those 40 acres, but has never been platted? You ever figured out a way to deal with that?
up to date, that has been dealt with as either a lot of record or as a commissioner's rule situation. So,
That is a lot of record.
well, it depends on if it's legal or not. So one thing that we've seen is that there's something we refer to as the commissioner's rule. It basically states if you've got a big field and there's a little farmstead in the middle of it, you can just draw a parcel around that house and do what you need to do. It doesn't even need to meet our lot standards. However, you can't build another new house on it. That's it. Until it is legally platted, you can only remodel, you can do an addition, you can build another barn. You can't build a new house. So where we see that being a real limiting factor is when the house is up by the road.
I think there's a,
This is another
Out
perfect
there.
example of the guy across the road from me. It's a large field. He bought the house from his grandparents. He's remodeling, but he can't build a new house. In fact, he has to put a septic system in because when the house was built, there was never a septic system.
I know there's one or two out there that, at least one, where they, long time ago, they built house, but it never was platted. So with the acreage, or I know they sometimes talk about what can I do to make it legal, straighten it out, that
That's where I know we have a lot of heartburn about that in our office when we see development of the field behind the house, because sometimes, well, we forget, if they don't show it on the plat half the time, we don't see that there was this little house on, so many acres or whatever just sort of got split off with commissioner's rule. And, we didn't think to ask the questions on how that little house lot got created before the buildable lot section got created. And we see this in the warehouse district as well, where the little house that was existing gets just cut off on a little acre cube that really puts those parcels in a very tricky position. And more what we find ourselves asking, if this comes before any board, is, hey, what's that? And when did that happen? And can we find a way to either buy them up and make them part of this project, or include their little house lot as a lot in your subdivision? Or do we need to think about how we can leave that lot so at least it will be a legal platted lot and not have to go through, it then later have to go through all the song and dance, because it's, more or less has been a non-conforming structure up to this point. But moving forward on its own lot, it loses that a lot of that grandfathered status. So it puts us in a weird position. And we recognize that those old homes end up in an odd spot sometimes, depending on the lot that's created around them.
Like a cluster of that, not just one.
Because you find people that will split off and split off and split off, and we don't know about it until they go to build. And then you might have a lot that was created behind that has no road frontage, so it's not buildable. So then, once it goes to build, then we have of telling them that you need to plat it, you need road frontage.
It's more or less that, but it's already built. That's why.
Yeah, if it's already built and
It
then they
doesn't-
split around it.
So it's a situation that now the lot has sort of shrunk in around them?
I think it's just several. Farmer that one time had a business, he has warehousing, but we'll build grandma's little house here, and why don't we throw a couple houses in the back? And what I'm thinking,
Okay. Yeah.
been there a while. We're not talking about something new or just a question of what we'll end up doing with that.
I know if the farmer still owns the land around those homes, there's quite possibly an opportunity to make it right. So that's something we'd be happy to look at. But yeah, it gets really difficult once they sell off grandma's little house to somebody else.
Grandma
and-
also owns
yeah.
all that land, I think, Now she's passed, and so that gets divvied up in some way, but that just makes it more complicated. Sure.
And as we like to tell people too that come through the county building, you can split it any way you want. That does not make it buildable. So we do talk to upstairs and keep pretty good tabs on, the auditor calls down to us if something funny's happening. And, there are definitely ways to split things that
So it
work
make
for
it
heirs.
It's already built on, but so usually some of those, though, you can do a percentage per year. If you had to do an add-on or something,
Okay, you're talking,
non-conforming.
well, if it's a floodplain situation, you can, but typically for that non-conforming stuff, we've got some for example, if it burns down, you can rebuild it on the footprint.
Right.
If you tear it down, you have to build the new standards. So it depends on the
I
circumstances.
thought the code had somewhere in there, if it's non-conforming, there's a percentage you could add on without, you still have to have a permit, but it was allowable.
I think ours says in a way that is, doesn't make the structure any more non-conforming. So you can, if you want to change it, it has to be more in compliance. It can't make it more, which is,
When's the ordinance going to change that they have to go to 3 acres instead of an acre and a half?
when the UDO updates. And I did talk to this family, the Pitcocks, about that when they were drawing out their lot for that reason. Yeah, we took that into consideration for sure. But it'll change when the new UDO passes. And I'm
hopeful that I'll be able to get back to that with a new planner starting on May 27th. And the PUD withdrawing, it kind of gets my attention back to legal review of the UDO.
Any other questions?
I'm curious how the public knows more than just that part of the new UDO.
Yeah.
Oh,
After the.
I mean, only you and I have only saw part of it, right?
I sent.
Not open to the public.
Not open to the public yet because it's still undergoing legal review. So after legal review, we will make a draft available to the general public. And I suspect we're going to have one more public meeting, a true public hearing.
Yeah, but it just seems strange that we're doing ahead of the UDO,
This was,
but it isn't
Yeah.
out yet.
yeah,
the
this is
information.
separate.
Just just a little glance
Yeah.
that was put out.
You have the full copy. And anybody on one of our boards who has email, I can certainly send a copy of it or print you out a copy. Like I said, I wouldn't distribute it publicly
I
yet.
haven't had a chance to go through that. What is it, 92 pages? or
It's
something
big,
like
yeah. And another,
that? So if you don't have anything to do and you want to read 92 pages of possible changes,
it's 92 pages in a new format. I would point out too that it has a table of contents that's a lot more user-friendly for online searches. So you can actually click on the table of contents on the page you want to go to, and it actually takes you to that page. So little tiny changes like that to make it more user-friendly. There is one definition section, so a lot less different ideas of what certain terms mean. And we updated a lot of the areas that we were seeing a lot of variances on. So I think overall it's going to be a really good fit. Honestly, it's pretty darn boring compared to future Hancock and the whole comp plan process. So the comp plan process and how I would suggest it's different than the UDO update is it's the big guiding vision that we invite the public in to really tell us what's your vision for Hancock County. And this UDO update is tweaking the existing land use rules that sort of make that built environment so that they more accurately reflect that vision. So in all reality, and like you said, Byron, it's a big, boring document. We're just trying to clean up some of those images so that when you come and look at it with your specific land use project and idea, it'll be a little easier to navigate.
I just want to make sure it's really reviewed. I was sitting on that board when we passed the one in 2007, and it was said, let's go ahead and pass it, and we'll fix it if it needs fixed later. After all these years, we've been fixing it. Now we've kind of stopped fixing it.
Yep. We have taken all the good parts and pieces that were developed over those years, though, and simply reorganized them into this document. So it looks like we're starting from scratch, but really we're just taking all those parts and pieces and pasting them in a new organization pattern, is how I would put it. Thank you.
Is there one more thing there? Yard, accessory structures?
That's also in this. We also did a quick update while we were doing the change to the subdivision procedures. We're letting you have one structure in the front yard. We kept seeing all these BZA proposals come through and they always get granted. So that seemed like a fairly quick update that I think saved 4 people from going to BZA this month, and I've already got a full agenda. So on most of our Hancock County lots, we've got big lots. We're not looking at typical little house lots like you see in a subdivision. A lot of people want to have a pole barn, a garage, a something in front of the face of their house. And we looked at a lot of examples and couldn't really find many situations where that worked out badly. As part of this ordinance update, we're also allowing one accessory structure to be in the front, it's the front yard, but think of it as our definition currently of front yard is anything in front of the face of your house. Does not matter how far off the road your house is. Currently, you live way back like the Pitcocks do, and if you wanted to put a very tasteful pole barn kind of off to the side in your front yard, that would not be allowed currently. You have to go to the BZA for a variance, which the BZA should not grant because that's not a good reason for a variance. But it always does. Because it doesn't make sense to deny it.
Like I said,
So in that case, we looked.
Board of Zoning
The
approval.
best and most appropriate thing to do was to do that one quick edit to the ordinance. So that's what we have done.
Yeah, before I didn't think it was defined that way, the front of the house. We kind of, seemed like on those you're talking about, concern was where the driveway into the property became the front of the lot. And so that made it confusing to where structures might land in front of the house, behind the house.
Anything else?
I think that's it. Thank you.
All right. Yep.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
Oh, this is going to the Board of Commissioners, May 20th.
May 20th. We have a first and a second. Jack, seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? We're good.
So that's already been through the planning?
Yes. Certification is the very last.
Was that when I went to spring break?
I think it was April 22nd. I think you were there.
Yeah, I
think
just
we
don't,
talked.
I don't remember that. I only missed the one, and that was spring break.
Yeah, I don't think that was that one.
Okay.
Thank you guys
No,
for
I was here April.
coming and chit-chatting about it.
I was here last month, yeah.
Yeah, I think we talked.
Meeting last month.
Wasn't
I know we
last.
talked about the yard stuff, and